In this video, I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step guide on the proper way of preparing a meeting agenda, how to schedule a meeting, how to best facilitate and publish your meeting minutes. I've got a lot to cover today, so I'm going to jump right in. Hi everyone, if you're in the project management world, you understand how critical it is to be able to schedule and facilitate an effective meeting. As part of meetings, you're bringing the project teams together to solve a problem or drive towards a decision. So it's critical that you make the best use of everybody's time and you're able to walk away from the meeting with the outcome that you were looking for. Hi everyone, I'm Sudi Bahrami and welcome to my channel. If you're having challenges keeping your project team on track during meetings, or you keep running over time, or that you walk away from a meeting needing to schedule multiple other meetings because you didn't achieve the original outcome you were looking to gain, I've got the answers for you. I'm going to walk you through 4 key components of a meeting. Number 1, meeting agenda. First and foremost, for your meeting agenda, you want to make sure you start with a template. If you don't already have one, I'm going to walk you through on how to put one together. You want to make sure that your template has a header with the branding and the logo of your company properly documented. Then you want to identify this document by labeling the document as meeting agenda. Now, sometimes I combine my meeting agenda and my meeting minute templates together. In that scenario, you can label it as meeting agenda/minutes. Then you want to make sure that the title of the meeting, if it's a project meeting, you want to make sure that it starts out with the project name. And then add to your title in 2 or 3 words at the most what the meeting is about. So if this is just plainly a team meeting that occurs on a weekly basis, you can put your project name followed by weekly team meeting. Once you have the proper name for your meeting, you also want to give a high-level summary of what this meeting is about. And this is the summary of your agenda. So it basically explains the intention of why are we all getting together and what are we trying to accomplish before the meeting ends. Then you want to indicate the time and date of the meeting. And if it's occurring in a particular location, you want to add the location as well. Sometimes we do virtual meetings and there's just a dial-in. So you want to put both the location and dial-in information. You also want to have done your research in terms of who needs to attend the meeting. And once you have the list of your meeting attendees, you want to list them out, and you could possibly leave an empty box right next to it so it indicates everybody who's been invited to the meeting, and as you start the meeting, you're able to check mark off who has or has not attended the meeting. For the body of your meeting agenda, you're going to break out by topic what you're going to cover and who's the lead presenter of that topic, and provide a time slot. So if there are multiple topics that different people on your team are responsible for talking about, you want to indicate in order the list of those topics or who's leading the discussion and the time slots, whether you want to put that in terms of duration, whether they have a 10-minute time slot or a 20-minute time slot, or the actual hours and minutes next to it. That could also help guide and track and making sure that you keep everybody on track to finish the meeting having covered all the topics that you have indicated. Now, if you're using your meeting agenda template for your meeting minutes, then you want to leave some room and space along with those topics so you can take notes during the meeting. And sometimes at the very bottom of it, you want to have a place where you can summarize the discussion notes and action items that come out of the meeting. This is where you're going to get into more of the meeting minutes, which I'm going to talk in more detail at the end of this video. Number 2, how to properly schedule a meeting. So I'm going to walk through some of the things to really consider when you're planning to schedule a meeting. A lot of these may seem common sense, but sometimes they get missed or forgotten and cause a lot of issues that could have been prevented. So first and foremost, As mentioned earlier, you want to make sure you have a complete list of everybody you want to invite to the meeting. So if you're using a scheduling tool, you want to open up a brand new meeting invite and put in the name of all the meeting attendees that you're planning to invite. Make sure that you go into their schedule and that they are available. Identify who's required to attend and who's optional. And you want to put the focus on those who need to be required. If they are required to attend the meeting, otherwise it's not going to be an effective meeting, you want to make sure that their calendars are available. So you don't want to overlap this meeting on top of something that they may have already scheduled and have a conflict. And for the optionals, try your best to find an open slot. If not, they come secondary in terms of priority of availability. Make sure to title your meeting schedule very clear and concise. Very similar to your meeting agenda that you prepared earlier. You want to indicate the project name if it's related to a project, and with a couple of words that indicate the purpose of the meeting. So when the attendees receive the meeting invite, they can immediately interpret what this might be about. In the body of your meeting invite, you want to include some or everything that you already included in your meeting agenda. So you want to start with your meeting body with the label agenda and the one or two sentences that are going to explain what this meeting is about and what are you trying to accomplish from it. Also, if there is a conference room involved with your meeting, you want to book that in advance and make sure that it's available and indicate that on your meeting invite. If there are virtual attendees, you want to include information required to dial into that meeting included within your meeting invite. If there are any attachments or supporting documents that the meeting invitees might need to review ahead of time or to reference during the meeting, this is the time that you want to make sure that you attach those to the meeting invite as well. Try to keep the meetings short and to the point, somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour. Anything beyond that, there better be a good reason for it and that the attendees are already aware to clear their schedules for it. Sometimes anything beyond that is truly really a workshop or a working session. So whether it's 2 hours, half a day, or a full day, that's something that you need to do a little bit more prep time, working with your meeting attendees to clear their schedule so you can put the placeholder on their calendars for that purpose. Also, when you're adding your attendees, keep in mind their time zone. So make sure that whether they're on another coast or that they're in another country, can they accommodate the time zone that you're scheduling that meeting? If not, make sure that you find a common ground that works best for all attendees. If you're booking a conference room, make sure to go in advance and check that all the technologies in the conference room work. The worst thing you can do is walk into a conference room right when the meeting starts and everybody is already there and you are trying to figure out the projector, the phone, and your technology connecting to each of those. One or many of those are not working. You are simply wasting everybody's time and it's not a good reflection on you. If you have various topics that are led by different team members, you want to make sure to include that in the body of your meeting invite as well. So when it does go to the attendees, those who are responsible for speaking know when they need to prepare for and when they need to step in and speak. And on the other hand, if this is a longer meeting and not all attendees are needed at all times, they can see when a specific topic is being talked about so they can step in at that time and step out when not needed. Also, when possible, schedule your meetings in advance. Don't schedule something that's going to surprise everybody and it's just half an hour away. Unless it's something truly urgent and you already have had discussions with the meeting attendees and everybody is expecting it and will make themselves available. But ideally, you want to schedule a meeting as advanced as possible within a week or a month, depending on how challenging the invitee calendars may be, and to make sure that you guarantee their attendance. Number 3, facilitating meetings. First and foremost, show up on time. Make sure that you are there right on time, if not ahead of everybody else. If the meeting room is available or the meeting call is available, you want to be there ready to go. Also, if this is the first time that the attendees are coming together in this meeting, you want to start out your meeting by introductions. You want to do a quick introduction starting with yourself and the objectives of the meeting and why you're there, and turn it to the next person and make sure that everybody's familiar with who's attending and what their role in the organization is and what their role on that project or in the meeting is. If this is a recurring meeting, for example, it's a weekly team meeting or a weekly project meeting, then you most probably have some meeting minutes and action items from the previous meeting. You might want to include that in your agenda, so before you actually dive into the content of new topics, you want to review any open items and what the progress on those are. As you're going through your meeting agenda, make sure not to jump around. Where possible, stick to the meeting agenda and keep the focus on the topic at hand. One thing that has been extremely helpful, whether you're conducting a meeting in a conference room and projecting your laptop, or that you're conducting a meeting online, is sharing your screen and sharing this meeting agenda / minutes that you are typing. This gives an opportunity that everybody has something to look at and follow along with. They know exactly where on the meeting agenda you are, what topic you're discussing, and as you're typing up your meeting minutes, if there is a discrepancy in what has been said and versus what have you heard and what you're typing up, the attendees have an opportunity to step in and correct, or if there was something missed, to be able to add it to the notes. As you come across actions that needs to occur as a result of the discussion that's happening, make sure you don't bypass it. You want to pause and identify what exactly the action is, who needs to do it, and by when do they need to do it. So you make sure that you ask questions such as why, what, when, how, who, by when. If the discussion happens to get off track, whether it becomes a heated situation or that you feel like they're going into way too much detail that is taking time away from other meeting agenda and it's not really contributing to the outcome that you're looking for, you can respectfully pause the team and the discussion and have a whiteboard on the side or on the meeting notes for what you would call the parking lot. So this is where you're going to take that topic and acknowledge that there is more information and more discussion needed for this topic, and you're gonna take notes of it so you can circle back after the meeting, whether with follow-up meetings specific to that topic or following up with individuals to get the information necessary. This way the attendees feel heard and respected and acknowledged, and you're acknowledging that this topic is critical. It just doesn't happen to be part of today's meeting agenda, and you will address it in a future meeting. And then you will be able to refocus the attendees back onto your meeting agenda and onto the next topic. But you want to pay attention to when you hear that there is an action item coming out of this discussion, or that somebody's raising a risk or an issue. So you want to immediately document those. If you need to pause the team to get more information out of them, do so, and also tag and mark that as an action or as a risk or an issue, so it stands out when you're recapping your meetings or when you're sending out your meeting minutes. When you're documenting action items, don't just arbitrarily put a due date on it. Unless there is a hard date and requirement that something needs to get done by a certain deadline, you want to have the person who's responsible for taking care of that action be able to propose a suggested time, because they truly are the expert who know how long it's going to take them, or what, or amongst all the other things on their plate, when they're going to be able to complete that action item. Now, always make sure to end the meeting on time out of respect for everybody else's time. Sometimes many people have immediate meetings that they need to attend to right after, so be respectful of that time. And also keep your eye out on the time and allow yourself about 5 to 10 minutes prior to the meeting end to stop the discussion and to repeat and recap the major decisions and any action items that came out of the meeting. So everybody can walk away all the key points that were discussed and key elements that the meeting attendees will be responsible. Number 4, meeting minutes. Now, whether you're going to have a specific template for your meeting minutes or that you're going to do what I suggested earlier and combine it with your meeting agenda where it already has the outline of topics that you were talking about, either way, the elements and the components of that meeting minute template are pretty much the same. Same as your meeting agenda, you want to make sure that you have a template with the appropriate logo and header and branding, and it's titled appropriately for meeting minutes, and it has your project name and the name of the meeting ending with meeting minutes. So it's very clear which meeting it was, and these are the notes for that meeting. It should also have the list of your attendees and clearly identifying who has attended and who did not show up. It has the meeting time and date and location. And then it's going to go through the outline of the meeting agenda and all the discussion that occurred and the summary of the discussion that occurred. You want to make sure that you have no spelling errors and you keep the minutes clean and concise. While you may be typing a lot during your meeting, trying to document everything that you're hearing, make sure that after the meeting you review it and you take out any errors, you try to consolidate any repeat messages, and you make it as concise as possible and into bullet points so it's easily read by whoever's picking up the meeting minutes, especially if they haven't attended the meeting. They'll probably be referring to the meeting minutes to catch up, so it should be able to tell a story and walk the reader in an organized way, explaining what was discussed, what are the key decisions, and what are the action items. Again, action items should have an owner and a due date and a status, whether it hasn't started yet or it was something that was already in progress. Again, I recommend sharing your screen while you're taking meeting minutes during the meeting. This way, everybody participates and keeps the focus on and are able to correct you if something needs correction or you don't know the spelling of a technical term. They can help contribute to it. So the meeting minutes that you do publish at the end are very clean and accurate, and everybody's already familiar with it. In your meeting minutes, you want to make sure that you dedicate specific section to each of the different areas. For example, there should be a section for just discussion notes where it has some key highlights of what was discussed, and you want to have a separate section for key decisions and a separate section for your action items that indicate a short description of what the action is and who the owner is and when is it due and the status. Now, after the meeting, you want to make sure that you are very timely when publishing your meeting minutes. While you want to take a little bit of a time after the meeting to review your meeting minutes, make sure that it's clean, concise, accurate. If there are any missing points that you didn't capture during the meetings that you follow up on accuracy, you do want to publish it, preferably by the end of that same business day. If not, at least within 24 hours of the meeting, while the meeting is fresh in everybody's minds, and especially for those who were not able to attend, or if your management needs to review the outcome of that meeting, they can reference the meeting minutes. So when you're getting ready to publish the meeting minutes, while you may have all the details within the meeting minutes as a separate file, you want to attach that file, but you also want to summarize what you just had put into the body of the email. This is really helpful for the attendees for a quick glance without having to open up the attachment to immediately see what action items have been assigned to them. And if they wanted to see more in detail, they can open up the attachment or save the file for their archives. You also want to properly title the email that's going out. So you want to make sure that it has the name of the meeting exactly as it was originally, followed by a dash, and then the word meeting minutes and the date. So this gives the indication of exactly what meeting it was these are the meeting minutes for it, and the date that it occurred. When preparing the email to publish your meeting minutes, you want to make sure that the recipients are everybody who was invited to the meeting. Whether they attended or not, they should be included as a recipient of this email. And in addition to that, any other stakeholders that you want to include for their information or for their visibility, you want to include them as well. And this covers everything you need to know for a proper meeting scheduling and facilitation and a wrap up. I hope these tips have been helpful. If you have any questions around meetings and meeting agendas and minutes, make sure to leave a comment below. If you haven't already done so, make sure to hit the subscribe button, then you're going to be notified of my future videos. Thank you for watching and see you next week.